Today's video is all about UV printing on drinkware, specifically powder-coated stainless steel tumblers using that machine over there, the eufyMake E1 UV printer. Hey guys, my name is Sam and welcome back to Samcraft. That's right, today's video is all about UV printing, specifically on powder-coated tumblers, and I want to make today's video about the top 5 things that I think about and I think that you should think about when thinking about tumblers and UV printing. So in today's video, I'm going to cover where to buy tumblers from, show you 3 different online sources, and talk about items and things to consider. Then I'm going to talk about logo sizing, giving you my tips and tricks and real-life examples on sizing a logo for a tapered tumbler. Then we're going to jump into the differences between horizontal and vertical printing on the UV printer, especially talking about consumables and print time, which will also tie into a print test to talk about real-world times and figures when doing tumblers. And then lastly, we'll bring this all home when talking about pricing, doing a little bit of market research. So if it sounds like your cup of tea, stick around. I'll be right back and we're going to jump into it. So the first thing is the number one question that I see online and through emails, and that is, where do I get tumblers or drinkware from? What are my personal sources? Who's good, who's bad, and what should I think about when I start thinking about sourcing my blanks for UV printing? If you're coming from the world of laser engraving, you can be happy to know that a lot of the sources for laser blanks carry over into the world of UV printing. If you're not familiar with lasers, don't worry. I'm going to show you 3 top sources for drinkware, and we'll go ahead and jump into those right now. So the first source I want to show you is Johnson Plastics Plus, and if we scroll down to their drinkware section, we can see that they have a bunch of different categories: tumblers, mugs, stemless wine glasses, beverage holders, bar and wine, and all of that kind of stuff. For this video, I'm going to jump into the tumblers section, and I want to pull up the exact tumblers that I did purchase for this video. I chose their 20-ounce Simply Engraving tumblers, and I got an assortment of white ones, navy ones, and then the black and gold holographic. So taking a look at prices here, you can see that you're able to buy these for about $8.86 a piece, and if you get more than one, you don't really get a discount. Basically, it is what it is with Johnson Plastics Plus, and it is open for anyone to purchase from. That's going to be really important as I take you to my next online supplier, which will require registration of your business. You got to submit documentation that you are a business, tax ID things, and while it is a hoop to jump through and does require you to be legitimate in their eyes, it has great benefits and great pricing. That company is JDS Industries, and they are one of the top sources for blanks and products in the world of UV printing, laser engraving, and much more. What I've pulled up here is their Polar Camel page, and it shows all of the different options for their high-endurance drinkware. You've got golf tumblers, growlers, leatherette tumblers, you have extra lids, ring neck tumblers, 10-ounce, 20-ounce, 30-ounce, silicone grips for replacements, as well as the actual 20-ounce with silicone grip. You have insulated beverage holders, sport tumblers. The list goes on and on. As you can see here, there is a ton of different options. And this one page is only showing you the different styles. If we go into the ring neck 20-ounce tumbler, we then have the option to pick our colors, and you're going to see a lot of options here. So this is a really cool thing about JDS Industries, is they are a business that is made for other businesses. That's why you have to register and prove you're a business before they let you in to purchase. And also what you're noticing is you're going to see a less than case price. So in this example, a white tumbler with a standard lid, if I'm buying less than a case, I'm going to pay $8.75 a piece. If I buy a case, which it tells me here the case quantity is 24. So if I buy 24 of these, I'm getting over $1 off per tumbler. That's a huge discount in price. And that's going to be what is really important when you think about pricing, and we talk about that later as far as price needs to sell, is lowering your overhead or your cost per unit for blanks is really going to be where you get your profit built into your pricing. And then to take it a step further, they also give you a 5-case pricing. If I were to buy 5 cases at once, or 10 cases at once. Again, this is a really big benefit of JDS Industries being a business made for businesses. They understand discounts, bulk pricing, and they have a ton of options. Just looking at the different colors, there are all sorts of different varieties, a lot of different options, and that's really cool because it's a one-stop shop for you to get multiple different styles. And at the pricing at this point, $8.75, even if I just buy one, it's really great to test around, play around with, and not be bound with buying a whole case and then ending up not liking it. So as I'm scrolling through all of their options, what you're going to see here is a sample set. This is $126, but it gives you one of all their color options. This is perfect to have on hand, whether you just want to test, or you want to have on hand for your customers to see, or you just want to play around with different colors. Having this sample set purchase option is really good, and JDS Industries is one of the few that actually do that. Okay, one other supplier that I want to show you is not JDS or Johnson Plastics. This is buying directly from a manufacturer, and this is one that a lot of professionals in the industry, as far as doing drinkware, use, and is very popular because you're able to get super high quality blanks or tumblers that your customers are going to want, but still at a relatively affordable price. So this company is RTIC, RTIC, and their Essential Pint Tumbler is one of their most popular styles and sizes. If you look at the pricing, if we go to each pricing, we're at $14.99 a piece. That may not feel like budget, especially coming from those $8 rough range of tumblers from JDS and Johnson Plastics. But again, this is a brand name, reputable tumbler brand that your customers are going to recognize and like. So this is a premium product you can price at a premium level. One thing to notice here is you can buy them individually for $14.99, or you could buy a case of 48 for $611, which breaks down to $12.74 a piece. That gives you $2.25 discount when you buy a case. So there are case quantity discounts through RTIC, and that's really good. Other sources such as Yeti and Stanley may exist, but I don't see them used as commonly, possibly because of pricing or supplying. Honestly, out in the world that I've seen and talking with other business professionals, they're using Johnson Plastics, JDS Industries, or RTIC directly as far as powder-coated drinkware. So there's a look at the sources. Now let's jump into logo sizing and into the software. All right, for this example, I'm going to be using one of the white powder-coated tumblers purchased from Johnson Plastics Plus. This is one of their 20-ounce plain white regular tumbler. This little guy right here. Nothing special as far as the world of appearances, but something very important to consider, especially with the eufyMake, is that it cannot handle the stepped tumblers, if at all, or very well. It's kind of a mixed bag out there, and there are some workarounds being developed in the community, so depending on when you view this, they may work or they may not. For now, it's not a recommended tumbler style from Eufy that they say to use, so we're going to be using these, more of a straight taper. I like these because they have a combination lid. It is regular sliding if you want for hot drinks. It opens and closes, but it still has the opening large enough for a straw if your customer wants the straw, although there are no straws included. So what I want to do next is take the lid off, and we're going to go load this into the printer. And for that, I want to show you the Rotary attachment, talk to you about a couple of features with it in case you're new and you haven't seen this, or in case you want to make sure what you've been doing is also what I do, given I'm not a Rotary professional. But let's go ahead and take this over and load it up. All right, over here at the Rotary, I've already got it installed. You have the drive wheels and the idler wheels. For this setup, you have to install your drinkware this way, with the opening facing to the left. So the way you install it is you set it on your left wheels, your drive wheels. Then you bring over your tailpiece all the way until it's resting on top of the bearings, and it's good to go. Now, one thing you may notice is there's not a lot of surface area for it either to drive or rest on. In that event, eufyMake gives you these. It's an extra set of idler pulleys and drive wheels that you can add on to give you a little more purchase on your drinkware. These are magnetic. They just snap right into place. There and there. And then the same thing with the bearings. They are magnetic and they pop on just like that. Now, whenever I go to load my tumbler, I have a lot more surface area at the top and the bottom for this to be spun around or driven, and also just to ride. So holding my tumbler all the way to the left, pushing up my tail piece. The last thing to do is a little lever up top that pushes a little wheel inside to pinch it and lock it into place. If I remove the cup, I can show you guys this thing. As you push it in, it's spring loaded and it's made to grab it just like that. So that's the last step. So put the front, bring in your tail piece. I like to hold down my tumbler to make sure it's right there on the wheels where it's supposed to be. And then you slide over the lock and you're good to go. At this point, I want to take you into the software and let's go ahead and plop and drop a logo. Wonder which one we'll use. And let's talk about sizing, and then also talk about orientation and how it plays a difference or a factor with print time, because print time is very important. I've got the eufyMake software loaded up. The first thing I want to do is make sure my printer's online, that it is ready to go. It'll say ready to print. If your printer's been sitting for a while, you're gonna have to go through the pre-print priming procedure. So depending upon your setup, you may have different startups versus what I've got as far as when you can actually start printing. First thing I will do is click on the auto measure, and this is where you're going to tell it what style drink you have in there. It's for drinkware. I don't have a square one. I have a tapered, and I don't have a handle, and I'm not going to do a full wrap. This full wrap calibration is a new thing as of the latest software update here early May 2026, and is one that I'm really happy to see. We'll talk about this or dive into it later once I've made myself more familiar with it and got it down pat where I'm not just playing guesswork with you guys. So for now, I'm going to leave those two boxes unchecked and then click on Start Measuring. At this point, what the machine is doing is it is moving the tumbler up and down, left and right, basically finding where the taper is perfectly level with the lasers up top, which is how it senses the level. And then it's going to move around, it'll rotate, check for roundness, and when it's done, it'll let us know. All right, it is done. Now, as far as letting us know, it doesn't play a sound, it doesn't do anything, except now over here to the right, we can see our top diameter, 89.5 millimeter, our bottom diameter, 73.7 millimeters, and our overall height, 171.2. That's pretty much it. That's the only indication you've got that it was successful in measuring. At this point, we can plop and drop our graphic, and for that, let's go ahead and go over to Upload. And let's choose this one. Right, were you shocked? You probably weren't shocked at all. You guys knew this is what I was going to print. And so from here, let's go ahead and scale it down to the proper size. Okay, here is my first tip for you. When we're thinking about proper size, you may not really know what to do. And this is what I have come up with for what works for me. Let's say with the Samcraft logo, I want to be able to see it at a single glance right here up front. What I will do is take my digital calipers, I will hold the cup up and I will make it as wide as I want, eyeballing where I want that, and then look at my measurement here, 74 millimeters. This may or may not work for you, but this is what I do. For each individual tumbler, I mean, I've already got it in my head now for this style, but if I had different styles, I would be doing the same thing. Digital calipers, holding it up, and looking basically where that graphic's going to go as far as wrapping around. Now, if you want to do a wrap, obviously you won't do this method. You'll figure out what the wrap you want. But as far as a single glance, I can see the whole logo just by looking at it, which, by the way, your customers, your business customers are probably going to want. Then I just do that lineup and visual alignment. So 74 millimeters is what we want. Hopping into the software, I'm going to click on my graphic. I'm going to go to my width, 74, press tab, and it's been scaled down. Now I'm going to use these buttons to snap it to the horizontal center and the vertical center. However, that's not where I'm leaving it. Again, going back to my tumbler, I'm going to now measure from the top down to find out where I think I want the logo to be. Looking here in the software, it tells me it's 25 millimeters tall, so that's a little bit short. I mean, if I take it down to 25, we're only talking about a logo about that big. But again, Samcraft logo is longer than it is tall. So if I have it about right here where I would like, the next thing to do is to measure from the top down to where that's probably going to start. And it looks like 40 millimeters is it for me. Again, this is a fully visual, maybe guessing game type setup, but I like to measure and visualize where the logo is going to be instead of running it and then figuring out at that point, oops, it's not where I want. So 40 millimeters down is where I'm going to place my graphic. And for that, we just go to the Y and we punch in our dimension, press tab, and then we're good to go. One other thing, if you look in the software right here, I'm going to click on my graphic, but look over to the left. You're going to see a gray bar. So when I click on it, you see this gray bar over here? That's showing me on the ruler where my graphic actually lays as far as X, Y, or height or whatever. It's got one at the top, and it's got one at the left. So when I punch in 50, it moves it down to 50, and that is the top, the portion at the top. It's the distance down. That's where that number is coming from. So I'm going to change it back to 40, and I'm going to leave it centered, and then we're good to go. Now what I want to do is go through the print settings, which this is a white tumbler. My graphic is pure black, and this is going to be really easy to do. First thing I want to do is set my white underbase choke to 0. I don't want any of that being tapered, but it's actually not going to matter because the next thing I do is click on my graphic, and instead of printing in white CMYK, which is where it will lay down a layer of white, then the color, we're going to get rid of that. We already have white. This is white. So instead, we're just going to have the color. So as far as the print setting, I'm going to choose CMYK, and I'm going to leave it at 1 layer. Since this is a black graphic on a white cup, 1 layer is going to be fine. Now, if I'm doing a navy blue cup or a black one and I have a different color graphic, that's definitely going to change. But for this, 1 layer should be no problem. So we have that good. And if we want to do one last thing, we can click on the preview down here at the bottom right, and it'll give us a rendering of how it looks. And it looks kind of small. Maybe I need to double check that. Yeah, 74 still looks all right. So I'm going to trust my measurements here instead of the software preview. And I guess you guys will see in a little bit whether I regret that or not. One other really cool thing down here at the bottom right is an estimation of ink and time. So I'm going to click on that. And here it gives me an estimated time of 5 minutes, 33 seconds with an ink volume of 0.04 mLs. You can see that the cyan, magenta, and yellow are all less than 0.01, so very negligible. But so is the black, 0.01 mLs. So if you're thinking about the overall lifespan of a print cartridge, your print jobs are not necessarily where you're going to be losing or wasting your ink. The priming, the bringing it in and out of standby mode so that it goes through its cleaning and doesn't clog, that's where you see the most usage of your consumables. That's why with UV printing, and this applies to any UV printer, the more you run it, the more profit you have, because you're not wasting those consumables, priming, depriming, cleaning, storing, back and forth. You're just printing. Because as you can see here, the total volume, less than 0.01 mLs, for this is really nothing in comparison. All right, so let's close out of the preview, make sure we've got our tumbler loaded, which we do, and let's go ahead and click on print. So the software is ready to go. I'm going to click on the start button down here, and we're going to kick the tires and light the fires. All right. So 7 minutes later, which, hold up, didn't we think 5.5? Looking over here in the software, the actual print time was 6 minutes 59 seconds. Well, that's because of the priming procedures, at least I assume, because our preview said 5.5 minutes, right? Well, I think that if I click this reprint button down here, which we're about to test, that our next job should not be 7 minutes. Actually, let's go ahead and load up another blank one, this guy right here, and see what that actually is. And I'll let that run while I talk to you about this one. So double dip the chip. Same kind of procedure, tumbler always to the left, bring over the base, make sure you got good lock, slide the lock, and you're good to go. Now in the software, I'm going to click on this reprint option. It wants me to ensure that I want to reprint, right? It's not going to remeasure, it's just going to go for it. And I'm going to click on print because yes, we loaded the same thing in there. I like that it's actually going through and remeasuring. I think that's a good checks and balance system. You definitely don't want to forget you put something different in there and it not check that. However, if you notice, it just started right away. There was no button on my screen for me to click. So if you do this, make sure you did put the right thing in there, which is the exact same object. All right, so let's take a look at this one. How do we like that placement? I personally like it. I like that if you just sit this on a shelf, let's pretend my hand is a shelf, you can read my entire logo just like that. No problem, which as a business owner, this is what I would want. Now, is it amazing as far as the graphical awesomeness of it? No, but as a business owner, this is what I want. So very cool. All right, so this reprint is going. And while it goes, let's go ahead and hit another thing on my bullet list, which is pricing. So yeah, I'm jumping ahead. We're going to talk about pricing, but might as well while this guy's running. To do market research or pricing, we're going to jump over to everyone's favorite website, Etsy. Love it or hate it, it's one of the good resources to just look and see what others may be offering. So what I have done is pulled up Etsy and I've pre-searched for what I want to look for. I want to find something as close as possible to what I'm printing here in my office that I can also see pricing for. So my search term is custom logo UV printed stainless steel tumbler. And as we look through results, you're going to have to be very careful because you're going to have a mixture of laser engraved and UV printed. Thankfully, the top two results are exactly what we're looking for. So looking at these, I want to take a look at the second one first because it is the best seller and it's the one that is most closely related to what we're actually doing. This is a single UV printed, customized tumbler. So you get to choose your color. So we're going to choose white and you get to choose whether you want one-sided or two-sided printing and if you want a standard or magnetic lid. To keep this as apples to apples as possible, I'm choosing white, one-sided, and standard lid. This is not magnetic. So looking at the prices here, we see that it is going to be $16.99 for one white single printed standard lid option. One thing to note though with Etsy is you may not always get the clear picture up here because you want to check if I'm also paying for shipping. Which looking down here, yes, I am. So if I only buy one, it is not $17. It is $17 plus $7.50 calculated shipping. So something to keep in mind. And one of the things that I do with Etsy is I have the customer pay for shipping unless it meets a certain threshold for an order. Let's see if this person does that. So we should see free shipping, X amount or more. I don't see it there. I don't see it down here. Let me change my quantity to 14, something ridiculous. Still not seeing it. So interesting. This person has chosen not to give free shipping at all, which honestly is not a bad thing to do for keeping your profits high. But depending upon the competition, it may hurt your sales on Etsy because everyone wants free shipping and it's rough as a business owner. All right, let's go back to our results here and let's click on this one. You may not want to click on it at first because that price is high, $432, but let's take a look and see what they really got going on. So clicking over here shows white, which is the standard option, same as what we have. But if you also notice, they have different prices based upon colors, and probably a good thing. You know, you have different colors, maybe different pricing. Or more realistically, what this person probably is doing is they are buying large cases of just plain white tumblers because they know this is probably their top seller. It's the easiest to print on. You don't have to do the white underbase. So they're probably buying these in really big bulk, so their price per unit is a lot lower. However, when it comes to the colors, they're probably not buying them as much in bulk, so their individual pricing may vary. This is a good thing. They're adjusting their pricing based upon their overhead or their costs. So we'll stick with white, and just like the other person, they had a one-sided and two-sided option. We'll just stick with one-sided, and then if we scroll down and look, they do offer free shipping. So cool. However, at first glance, $432 is a lot. I wonder how that breaks down on my cost per cup as a customer. So, jumping over to our trusty calculator, it breaks down to $18 a piece, which going over here, it was at $17, but I paid shipping. Now, does that mean it's better to get the bulk or better to get the individual? Don't know. But as we can see, it's right around that $17, $18 range. That current pricing, as of May 2026, people are charging for a single-sided white tumbler. Now, let's briefly think about some pricing math and see what kind of profit we can estimate. And this is an estimation. Let's say that they got their blanks for $8. Probably cheaper than that, depending on their bulk. But looking at what we saw online earlier, let's say they have $8 in their product. If they sell it for $17, that gives them $9 left after purchasing the product. Now you got to take out the consumables and the machine time. Depending upon your logo that you send, you may have that machine running for, 10, 15 minutes. So if you figure a 15-minute runtime, that kind of gets into your profits and honestly gets into things that most people struggle with, is how to charge for machine time. Now, to spoil the party, I don't have a calculation formula for you on machine time run. That's going to be based upon your consumables, your ink usage, how much your ink is costing, and then also your volume as a business. So if I have a business where I'm doing hundreds of these a day and my machines, because I would definitely need more than one at that time, are running nonstop, I don't have to worry about the pre-print priming procedure, which chews up consumable and time. All I need to worry about at that point is just print time. However, at the same time, if I'm doing just individuals and I'm kind of smaller scale, it's going to eat up my consumables a little bit more. Again, I don't have a good answer for you just yet because this kind of gets into that odd gray area on how do you calculate and charge for machine time. If you are doing this as a business and you have the willing or the desire to share, leave a comment down below. It'd help me and others out because this definitely is one of those gray areas when it comes to pricing. All right, our tumbler is done. So let's take this guy off. We'll check out this quality. Looks just as good. Perfect reprint. Same size, same location. And now let's go back into our software and see how long did that take. Took 7 minutes. Well, that's kind of a bummer. The preview was off by 1.5 minutes based upon reality. So 7 minutes for this size print. It is what it is. It's as best as we can get. Now what I want to do is rotate my logo. All right, 7 minutes for horizontal. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Yeah, it's going to look weird, but I'm going to do this in the name of the video for you. And let's see what kind of print time we get when we take it from this orientation to that. My guess is going to be a lot shorter because the actual number of times that print head goes back and forth are going to be greatly reduced because the travel distance is not 70 millimeters anymore. It's, what was that, close to 25? So let me load this back into the printer and let's rotate the graphic and see what it really turns out to be. I'll try my best to put this 180 degrees from my logo, which a little tip here, if you wonder where the printer lines up your center line with your device or your cup, it's at the very top. So we'll just eyeball that. Go ahead and jump into the software, click on finish, go to my design, do this, and rotate that bad guy 90 degrees. I guess it's okay. Bring it down to 40 from the top. Otherwise, leaving it as is. CMYK, one layer, great. Print. It's going to go through the measurement procedure because I did not tell it to reprint, so that's fine. We'll go ahead and let it do that. Shouldn't take it but just a second or more longer, and then we'll click on print. All right, our software is ready. Look at this estimated time over here to the right, 2 minutes, 59 seconds. Let's click start and let's see if it really does take that short of a time. Okay, while that's going on the vertical logo, I forget where I was talking about pricing. I guess basically is if you got a thing that you figured out to calculate your machine cost and you want to share it, leave it down below. Because I've seen that as being the biggest gray area, whether with UV printing, laser engraving, CNC work. Anytime you've got a machine doing work that humans previously would have been doing, it's kind of a we don't know what to charge area. So if you're willing to share, again, drop it down below. All right. Vertical logo is done. Looks good. Could definitely be made larger if I want to do this full style. Definitely I would make it larger. But for the interest of how much time difference are we looking at, I left it the same size. So jumping over into the software, we can see total print time, 3 minutes, 43 seconds. So for whatever reason, what the software tells us on the estimated time doesn't seem like it matches with reality. I guess it doesn't take into account focusing, priming, I'm not really sure because it doesn't tell us. But 3 minutes and 43 seconds versus 7. So definitely if you have the option, or if you're thinking about pricing, if you have custom people with different logos coming to you, and you don't have Etsy pre-adjusted prices, which might come back to bite you, look at the person's logo. If it's vertical, you will already know that you're going to have less machine time, quicker turnaround, as opposed to if it's horizontal. Now, as far as the differences in colors, that's not going to make a difference in print time because it's dropping the UV resin, the color, regardless of the mixture, the same speed. It all comes down to the travel time. Does that print head only have to go this far or does it have to go this far? That makes a big difference in print time, as we just saw. All right, guys, so that is it. That is my Tumbler video. We talked about where to source tumblers from. I gave you 3 different online sources, talked about pricing, bulk discounts, sample sets from JDS Industries. Awesome. I wish everyone did that, by the way, and stuff like that. If you want to check out those places, there are links to them down below. Go check them out and see what you think. Also, we talked about logo sizing. How to get the correct how to get the correct sizing based upon visual alignment and measuring. So digital calipers, definitely a must-have. Talked about logo placement as far as measuring down from the top, looking and seeing where you want it the best and using your digital calipers to line it up. Then we did our print test, although it didn't do the pre-print priming procedure because I used the printer before this video. I can tell you that pre-print priming procedure takes 2.5 minutes. So if the printer had not been used, maybe it just came out of its deep clean cycle and I got it ready to go because it's been sitting for a while, the 7-minute job, which is this guy, would have taken close to 10 minutes the first time because it has to print and prime and all that PPP procedure. Now reprint would have only been the print job, so 7 minutes for this guy's, or 3.5, I forget what it was. Yeah, 3 minutes, 43 seconds for this one. So again, when thinking about pricing, think about your blanks. How much are they costing you per piece? How much can you get them as far as cheaper per bulk pricing? Adjust that. Also think about the customer's logo, the size, the layout, the orientation, and all that kind of stuff. If you guys got questions or comments, leave them for me down below. If you're willing to help out others with your machine pricing ideas or thoughts, leave that down there as well. As of the making of this video, it is early May 2026. eufyMake is now officially on their buy now, ship now with this printer and all the accessories. It's taking a little bit of time for them to ramp up and get ready for this in production, but all the stuff's there. and it's all priced at eufyMake's website, and I'll leave a link to that down below in case you don't have this machine or you're looking at it and you want to compare it to the competitors and other things you see out there. All that information and links will be down below as well. Otherwise, thanks for watching as always. I'm going to get back to printing more of these logo tumblers for this customer, and I'll see you guys next time. Well, not in the workshop or office, I don't know. I'll just see you around. Bye.